Hey, welcome. So let's talk about dreams. Most of the time, we just brush them off, right? Just random noise our brain makes while we sleep. But what if there's more to it? What if your dream world is actually a space you can, and maybe even should, actively protect? Today, we're digging into this really fascinating idea from our source material about what it means to have energetic sovereignty, especially when you're asleep. All right, let's just jump right in with a question. And I have a feeling this is going to hit home for a lot of you. Have you ever woken up from a dream feeling just heavy, anxious, or sad, or just weirdly off? You know that feeling where the emotion you're carrying doesn't quite feel like it's yours? If you're nodding along right now, then this explainer is definitely for you. We're going to look at a new way to think about this, and more importantly, some actual tools you can use. So, the source material we're looking at today brings up this core idea it calls emotional or spiritual imprinting. Sounds complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. The idea is basically this: when we're in our most vulnerable states, and sleep is a big one, other energies or even stories can get planted in our subconscious. And these little seeds can then mess with our emotions, which is why we sometimes wake up feeling totally off balance and have no idea why. Okay, so how does this actually happen, right? Is it just random? Well, according to the source material, no, it's not random at all. It's actually tied to very specific moments in our day-to-day lives, times when our, let's call them energetic defenses, are down. And what's really fascinating here is just how specific these moments are. We're talking about times of really heightened emotion, like the middle of a panic attack, a really intense sexual experience, or that gut punch feeling of a sudden betrayal. In those moments, our focus is just completely sucked in by what's happening, you know? And that intensity can apparently make us way more open to outside influences. And this quote really nails the how. Think of it like this: a traumatic moment, or even just a super intense emotional one, can basically create an anchor point. It's almost like it props a door open in your energy field. And that open door can let stuff that isn't yours find a way in later on. And a lot of times, that later on is when you're dreaming. Okay, so that's the what and the how. That's the problem. But way more important is the question, what can we actually do about it? This is where we get practical. We're going to shift from the idea to the action, starting with some really simple but powerful things you can do before your head even hits the pillow. The source really highlights the power of your own voice, your own intention. It calls it word magic, which is basically just using your words as a tool to create a real change. So when you say something like this out loud, you're not just talking to yourself. You're consciously, deliberately setting a powerful boundary. You're saying, hey, this dream space, it's mine. End of story. So let's break this down into a really simple 3-step nightly ritual. Super easy. Step 1. You speak your sovereignty. Use an affirmation like the one we just looked at. Step 2, you place protections. And don't worry, we'll get into what that means in a second. And step 3, you actively ask to remember. You ask what the source calls your higher self. You can think of that as your gut feeling, your deepest intuition, to help you hold on to any important clues from your dreams. So, what in the world are protections? Well, this is where it gets really personal. The source gives some great examples. It could be crystals, like obsidian or black tourmaline, or something really simple, like putting a little bowl of salt or water by your bed. It could even be something you write down, like a prayer, or what's called a sigil, which is just a special symbol you create for yourself that holds meaning for you. The absolute key here is that it has to feel powerful and real to you. That's it. All right, so that prep work before you go to sleep, that's part 1. But the process isn't over. Part 2 kicks in the second you wake up. This is your chance to really look at what came through overnight and to consciously take back your own story. And your morning routine is also just 3 simple steps. First, write stuff down. Document anything you remember, no matter how weird or small. Seriously, even little fragments can be a big deal. Second, you analyze it. And the source really zooms in on this part. If you dream about a specific person, pay close attention to how you felt after you saw them in the dream compared to how you felt before. Did something shift? And then finally, you actively let it go by speaking another statement out loud. And this statement right here, this is the heart of that release process. It's like your anchor. It doesn't matter what crazy stuff was in the dream. With these words, you are consciously, powerfully declaring that you're coming back home, back to your own center, your own truth, and what you're really about. Okay, so now you have the tools, right? The before bed ritual and the after waking process. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to go through a few reflection prompts, all pulled from the source material. And this is where it gets really good, because this is where you can start applying all of this directly to your own life and your own dreams. So let's start with this one. Patterns are always clues, right? So think about it. Do you have a recurring dream? It might not be the exact same story every time, but maybe it's a theme or a specific feeling that keeps showing up. And what is that emotion that's left over when you wake up? Just being able to notice it and even just name it, that's a huge first step. Now, this next one's a little more specific, but for some of you, this is going to click right into place. Do you ever have those false awakenings? You know, where you dream that you woke up, you go through your whole morning routine, and then you actually wake up? Or what about that super creepy feeling of being watched in a dream? The source says that just noticing when these things happen is in itself a really powerful act of awareness. Let's talk about language for a second. Have you ever woken up with a specific phrase or even just a word bouncing around in your head? The source calls this word magic too. The prompt is to actually write it down and then ask yourself, does this sound like something someone in my life would say? Does it sound like one of my own fears or a limiting belief I have about myself? This is all about connecting the dots between what's happening at night and what's going on during the day. And this next one, this is just a really simple, honest check-in with yourself. What's your current bedtime routine look like, for energetic protection or even just for remembering your dreams? Maybe your ritual is scrolling on your phone till you pass out. Or maybe you already have something you do. There's no judgment here, no right or wrong. It's just about being aware of what your habits are right now. And that brings us to the last, and I think the most powerful question of all. Because at the end of the day, none of this is about being more afraid of your dreams or what happens when you're asleep. It's the total opposite. This is a call to action. It's asking you, how can you take any fear you might have about the night and flip it into a conscious, empowering ritual? It's about transforming bedtime from something passive into a daily practice of taking back your dreams and owning your own energetic space.